In progress.
Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, are you ready? Wonderful. It is 5:00 p.m. and I will call the Richland County Development and Services Committee to order in its most festive version ever. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Pugh,
Present.
Teresia, Barron, English, Newton.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And for the record, I'd like to note that Ms. Teresio had hoped to be here, but she is dealing with a family situation right now and wasn't able to join us. That brings us to item number 2 on our agenda, the approval of minutes.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second. I apologize, ma'am.
No problem. Hearing no discussion, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Pugh,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Item number 3 is the adoption of the agenda. First, I'll look to staff to see if there are any updates or changes.
No changes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any from the body?
Oh, ma'am.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move to approve.
Mr. Pugh?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved. Yeah, this we're on the skeleton crew for this committee meeting.
I promise I won't make this difficult for you today, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Pugh,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved. English.
We'll note that Councilwoman English is here, so Mr. Pugh, now you don't have quite so much heavy lifting. Also would like to acknowledge that our colleague from District 6, Joe Weaver, is here, and we thank him for joining us today. What did I say? Oh, my word. I didn't even think. My mind was in District 6. I apologize. Back in 2023, our colleague Don, D-O-N, Don Weaver, has joined us.
Get everybody to focus.
You want me to give my gift back, Don?
We're not on holiday yet.
Pass it down to Joe.
Items for action, in addition to reading these things correctly, item number 4A, is from the county's attorney's office. There is a road closure petition from Forest Glen Circle. You can see that on pages 8 through 20 of our agenda packet. And there is no associated council motion, but we can either approve the request or deny the request. Is there any discussion, noting that if there are any legal questions, we can handle those in executive session if needed? Is there anything that staff would like to present as it relates to this item?
No, the documents are attached. If there are any questions, we can enter executive session for discussion.
Hearing no discussion or questions, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Pugh,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Item 4B is from the Department of Public Works Engineering Division, the Comprehensive Transportation Improvement Plan for fiscal year 2024. That's on your agenda packet, pages 21 through 39. Is there a staff person that would like to address this briefly? It looks like our county engineer, Ms. Sharani Fuller, is making her way to the lectern.
Thank you, ma'am. This is an annual document that Public Works puts on every year. We bring it forward so that council is aware of our plans for the upcoming year. So the document itself contains some technical information just about on our kind of day-to-day activities and our spendings. And then towards the back, you'll see a list of capital improvements, pavement preservation, and road resurfacing and repair being the major items in the document.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the body? Councilwoman Barron, you're recognized.
Thank you. So I'm assuming these are very general items. So at some point, we'll get more specifics as to, what's included or what roads are included, like the maintenance that will be maintained and such. And it might have been here and I overlooked it.
Yes, ma'am. If you look at...
I see it just as soon
Okay.
as you said something.
Okay.
No problem.
Yes, the specifics are in here. And then as far as maintenance, that's more of a day-to-day activity as we receive calls. But these are what we're planning for capital improvements.
Any other questions from the body? I do have one, and it's for the benefit of any citizens who are watching, or my uncle in Virginia who is also watching. And that is, hey, Uncle Butch, if you could just explain how the dollars are apportioned based on paved roads, because it is something that does become something of a challenge for me and perhaps for Councilwoman English as well, where while we have roads, the way that you're dividing this is based on the total paved road. So if you could just explain that process, that would be great.
Absolutely. It's referred to as the pro rata, and it's dictated by our ordinance in Chapter 21. And it does state that the way the funds are divided up is based on the number of paved roads in each district compared to the total number of paved roads in the whole county, which are county-owned, to clarify that. And because of the way the division works, we can't necessarily make the match every year because some of our divisions are quite small and might only get 1% of the funding, which would not go very far. So our goal at Public Works is within a 5-year period to make sure we're hitting those marks and getting the correct amount of spending to each division. And right now, based on our tracking, we're about to enter year 4, and we're pretty much on the mark as far as how the division of percentages go within each district.
And I'm just curious from a cost perspective, I know that the transportation department and engineering have looked at different options as you look at, are you repaving a road? Are you doing, I forgot already what you called it, the road preservation? Have we been able to realize, or do we anticipate realizing significant savings as we look at some of the preservation versus repaving?
That's a great question. Preservation is the correct terminology, and I don't think that we've officially put anything together as far as a return on the investment, but I think that we should, and probably that 5-year mark might be a great place to do it, just to see what the cost savings are and also what the benefit is. So are we getting what we want out of the preservation, or do we need to look at other options?
Thank you, Ms. Fuller. Any other questions from the body? I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Pugh,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. That brings us to item 4C from the Department of Public Works, the Jim Hamilton L.B. Owens Airport. They have an airport manual update, which was interesting reading in your agenda packet, pages 40 through pages 103. Is there a staff member who would like to address that briefly?
Good evening, Council. My name is Peter Savalas, I'm the Airport General Manager, and I present to you the update to our airport manual. It is a guiding document that we utilize at the airport to provide guidance to both the staff and to the airport users for a safe and efficient operation. The document itself is a update that is consistent with FAA grant assurances that we are required to abide by, and South Carolina Code Title 55, which is the state law. It is also part of the county's local ordinance, Chapter 3, under airports. And the gist of it is to update the ordinance, the local language here, to reflect more accurately the requirements that are needing to be enforced out there, to make sure that provide clear guidance to like I said, to the staff and to the users. They're broad in some sense because they encompass everything from operations out there to even the smallest things. As for instance, I point out cooking grills to prohibit the usage of those types of devices out there at the airfield. This is one of the reasons we're doing this is part of fostering good governance to the airport, to make sure that the airport is reflected it being operated correctly. And again, it's to abide by the grant assurances and the state law.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the body? Councilwoman English, you're recognized.
I don't have a question, but I always have to say every time when I leave there, I feel like I can fly. Just get in the airport and I'm a pilot.
Thank you. That's a good
guys
feeling
do
to
a
have.
Phenomenal job. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm not going to be flying with you, Councilwoman English, unless you've got some credentials.
I feel like it.
I do have one question, and I know that we have approved a few documents related to the airport, so it could be that I'm thinking of the wrong thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Have we been provided, and would it make sense to provide before this is sent to full council, a red line version, as none of us are experts in airport policy? Sometimes people like to see, just have an
course.
idea of what's been changed.
Yes, ma'am. If that's what the council desires, I will work with the administration if it's necessary.
Ms. Myers, you're recognized, and while she walks to the lectern, how, spitballing a number, comprehensive would you say the revisions to this document are?
From what I reviewed in the document, it's substantial.
Because sometimes there's certain levels of revision where it doesn't make sense. If it's 80% different, then it doesn't make sense for us to see it.
And that's what we're saying.
Understood. Then in that case, I don't know that it would make sense to do that.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Again, any other questions for the body before we entertain a motion? Then we'll hear that motion.
Move to approve?
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Pugh,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. We are now at item 5, items pending analysis, no action required. Item 5A, to direct the administrator to research and present to council current laws and benefits of enacting impact fees in Richland County. The purpose is to help reduce the tax burden on residents by not having to pay the complete cost of development in Richland County. I know that at our last meeting, we received an update that an RFP was being issued so that we could bring in a firm that would be able to advise us on that. And it looks like Ms. Myers is at the lectern, so you are recognized.
Good evening, members of the committee. There are no staff updates available at this time.
Thank you. Was the information that I provided correct?
It was, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the body? Thank you. And then Councilman Weaver.
Thank you. I do have one
Pardon
question.
me, that's Councilman Don Weaver for the record.
Thank you for that clarification. I do have one question, and I don't know if this is the time on this, but for the potential impact fees, did we ever figure out, would they go into the general fund? Would they go into a reserve account for sidewalks? Or has it ever been designated? Do we know what other counties do?
So if I may address that, and I'll let Ms. Myers add any supplemental comments. So part of the purpose of us bringing in a consultant to give us information is, number one, there was a concern that the impact fee laws in South Carolina were constructed in such a way that it might not it might not be everything that every council member might wish it would be. So we've not gone that far. But one of the things that the RFP has specified, and staff can get you a copy of that RFP for your reference, is that they will bring back, this is how the statute looks. These are all the things that you can do. This is what the potential impact would be at Richland County. And additionally, these are best practices / what are other counties and municipalities doing in South Carolina as it relates to impact fees. So at this point, it's what are the benefits? And so we're not at the point to say, yes, we want to do it, and where would revenue go? Anything to add, Ms. Myers?
No, ma'am.
Any other questions from the body? Hearing none, I'll move to item 5B. I move to direct the administrator to review and update the illegal dumping ordinance, including raising fines up to $5,000, jail time, and community service, including picking up debris on roadways. And I added that including, I apologize, Ms. English, the maker of the motion. Any updates from staff?
No, ma'am, there are no updates at this time as well.
Thank you. And then again, I believe that that item was with staff where they were doing additional research, particularly as it relates to state law around some of these areas and developments that were happening, and they'll be coming back. Councilwoman Barron, you're recognizing that. For everyone, that's Gretchen Barron.
But anyway, so listen, when are we gonna get, I guess when it's the committee, well, this is our last committee meeting, so this very well could be a different committee in January. But just for the record, do we have a timeline on any of these items that are brought before us?
I anticipate that the staff will provide updates, including draft ordinance for this particular item in February at its February meeting. Yes, ma'am.
And I'll say, and this is maybe an oversight on my part when the agenda was prepared. So one thing that we had moved towards doing that I thought was great on the part of the staff is that even for items that were pending analysis, there would be a summary and it'd say, this is what we're going to do and this is what the schedule is. And previously, we might have even had them for these items, even though it's not included here. So I think that that's something great for us to consider. And then maybe as a body, I'll just throw this out, that one of the challenges that I think staff faces when you have not, even though there aren't 11 council members on the committee, when you have a multitude of council members, some members like to see a certain amount of detail on those documents and some like to see different. And so that might be an opportunity for us to discuss so that we can give clearer guidance to staff to help with that. Anything else on this item? Thank you, Ms. Myers.
My pleasure.
Friends, that brings us to item number 6, adjournment.
Adjourn.
Madam Clerk.
Pugh,
Yes.
Barron. English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes,
Motion approved.
this meeting is adjourned. Have a wonderful day, everyone.